It's obvious that you listen to this show to hear about and support other people's dreams. But what about yours? What is your dream project? I'm here to help you break through whatever is in the way of your dreams and get you to the finish line. Go to dreamingbigcoaching.com today and take the first step. Literally, it's a button you can click to sign up for a free consultation with me. Let's find out if I can help you reach your goal. Click on Take the First Step. It's that simple to start the rest of your life. Get coached by Rob Southgate at dreamingbigcoaching.com. Look, we're all nerds here. Todd Stashwick's Nerd Circus is a great place to pick up nerdy paraphernalia and groovy wares. How about some sweet lava lamp dice? Or maybe a funky 70s Rec Room Nerd Circus dice box? Does that do anything for you? Need a drink? What about the book Mystic Libations? Critical cocktails for the thirsty adventurer. Look, Todd Stashwick's Nerd Circus is the place for nerdy threads, cool tabletop gifts, and more. Go to thenerdcircus.com and check out the cool stuff. Oh yeah, and let them know the TTRPG Insider sent you. Once again, welcome back to TTRPG Insider. I'm your host, Rob Southgate. TTRPG Insider is a podcast about tabletop role-playing games. More specifically, about the amazing people that create TTRPGs. Every episode, I interview someone who is involved in the making of games that we all love to play. I want to hear their stories about their lives and what creative stuff they're doing, not just a description of their game. You can follow TTRPG Insider on Facebook by searching for TTRPG Insider. I plan to add other social media, but for now, that is the best place. If you want to email me, you can send me an email directly to rob@ttrpginsider.com. Oh, and please rate and review this show wherever you listen to this podcast. Having reviews helps this podcast show up in recommendations so other fans can find us. In other words, think of reviews as a +5 on our stats. This month we're featuring the Black Ballad by the Storytellers Forge. They have a backer kit campaign that launched on March 7th and will run for 30 days. Please support this crowdfunding effort, both financially and by sharing it across your social media. You never know who's going to fall in love with this game, so make them aware of it. Go to BackerKit and search for the Black Ballad, or simply click on the link in our show notes. Today's guest is Jeff Mueller. He's a writer, producer, podcaster, actor, all-around creative force. I can't wait for you to hear this conversation, so let's get to it. Here's Jeff. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on TTRPG Insider. This is going to be a lot of fun. I know you're a writer. I know you do all sorts of fun things, and you are involved, I know the audience is probably shocked by this, but with Storytellers Forge and with the Black Ballad. But first, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do?
I mean, that is a broad question. I'm Jeff Mueller. I am a longtime nerd with fingers in all sorts of stuff. I'm an actor. I'm a writer. I'm a podcaster. I'm a movie producer. I do all sorts of things. I train martial arts nonstop and coach martial arts. I do a lot of stuff. So I'm constantly tired, but I'm happy to be here and happy to talk to you.
Hey, I feel you on that. I'm constantly tired, and basically everything you said, kind of fits for me too. So are we the same person? I haven't quite figured that out.
I don't think so, but it'd be nice if I found a clone, because ever since seeing Multiplicity in the 90s, like I've been looking for that solution in my life, but it's never
just hasn't happened yet.
No, not yet.
So, all right, before we get in, I've got so many things to ask you about. Before we get into the things now that I want to ask you about, what do you do for Black Ballad? What's your involvement there?
I came on board with Storytellers Forge to work on the Black Ballad as a writer and a developmental editor for the most part. So I'm kind of involved in most aspects of the production, from writing certain aspects of the text, but more importantly in trying to make sure that the product is developmentally produced in a very professional way.
All right, very cool. And your background, I mean, you've got acting, you've got producing. Do you have a background in writing? I mean, obviously, if you're doing those things, you are writing some, but is that something that you would say, yeah, I do have a background in writing?
I do. My life is a weird just vortex of happenstance. So
we have a name for your biography. Okay.
Growing up, I was always an art and English kind of guy in school. Like math and science never worked for me. So I wrote through school and things like that. I dabbled with the thought of going into comic books for a living, kind of backed away from that, realizing that I like money. So kind of stepped away from that and went into the kind of the tech world. And, in my day job, I do a ton of technical writing. So I do from that aspect, which kind of predisposes me towards editing and things like that, because I write so much in my day job, but it's soulless writing. So, in my spare time, I like to create and write things, be they scripts. I used to run a website for a very long time, a fitness website where, I talked about health and fitness and wrote articles on that. So creative writing has always been like an outlet for me.
Sure.
So yeah, writing is a thing that I do.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned that you're also a podcaster. Are you currently podcasting? I mean,
I am.
I guess you are, because we're talking right now. But
fair
aside
enough.
From this,
you're podcasting. I'm just showing up.
Yeah, you're just showing up. Sure. Shockingly, I just showed up too. So, do you have a podcast?
Currently, no. Currently, I'm in between. For years, I ran a comic book news and review show called The Comic Corner. That ran for about 8 years. Finally shuttered the door on that when the website that was sponsoring it, folded. Ran a health and fitness podcast for a while called the Geek Fitness Matters podcast. Those episodes are still up online, but it's not current at the moment. It's just. I run into problems with time, like I mentioned earlier. It's just there's so many different directions to focus in. And right now, my focus is on the Black Ballad, and that is taking up a ton of time to make sure that it's ready to go live when backers are hopefully ready to start flooding the gates.
Yeah, I feel you on that. It's funny. You're not going to believe this, but I did used to subscribe to the Comics Corner.
You did not.
I did. I swear to God. Yeah. Well, because when we started our network, that was 9 years ago, and I was a complete podcast nerd. Like, I don't wear that proudly now. I listen to everything, but years ago, so I had a show called Nuff Said, where we talked about Marvel, we talked about the comics, we talked about the shows, and as a result, I was like not only like networking with other shows, comic book shows and that, but I was listening to everybody and everything. I can picture it in my feed. I can picture Comic Corner. That is so funny. I had no idea. And I'm sure I listened to you. I couldn't quote you back, but I'm sure I listened to you. So that's really cool. I might have to have you on a different show to talk some weird, nerdy comic book stuff.
I would love it. And it's blowing me away right now because, man, I haven't thought about the Comics Corner in a minute. So that's fantastic that you used to listen to my voice.
Well, I did actually listen to you. So that's pretty cool. I'm actually kind of loving the fact that I've got you on here with that. Movie production. So you're a movie producer. You do features, short films? What's your thing?
Short films.
Okay. And are they just all independently produced? Are you doing it with students? What's your bag?
So I've been acting for a decent amount of time now. Came into that later in life as kind of a creative outlet, to deal with, like I said, the doldrums of the day job, sort of thing. And where I was living at the time, I'm now currently in Seattle, Washington, but for most of my life, I lived on the East Coast, right outside of Washington, D.C., near Baltimore. And the acting and film market out there is it's mostly commercials and political ads and things like that. There's not a lot of stuff that films there. Occasionally a network will come in to film a show, and it's always a crime show. It's always just about how crappy Baltimore is. And that's really all there was there. So after a while, I decided, you know what, I'm tired of trying to, audition for roles up in New York and things like that. I just want to make my own stuff. So there are a lot of talented people in that area, all kind of searching for the same thing. And so honestly, I did there kind of what we're doing with Storytellers Forge in the TTRPG space. Like, hey, there's all these talented people, but there's no one bringing them together to produce something cool. So I sat down with some of my friends that did sound, some of my friends that did editing, some of my writer friends, some of my director friends, and I got kind of the best of breed that I could find in the area. And we just made some short films. A, for fun, B, for learning. There's no better way to learn something than to actually immerse yourself in it and do it. And that's what we did. I haven't started that up since I got here to Seattle about 8 months ago. I'm just kind of getting my feel for the area, but probably be doing the same thing out here because it's a great creative outlet for me.
Yeah. Well, I see that. I mean, from 2015 through now, you've been producing pretty regularly, which is pretty cool. And you've been acting in things pretty regularly. So that's pretty awesome. And, did you do festivals, or was it more like, hey, we're going to put them up on Vimeo and see what happens? What'd you do?
Man, the last film I put out, The Forgotten, which you can find on Amazon Prime for free, or you can rent it if you're not a member. That was put out to festivals, here and there. We won a couple of awards, couple best of. I took best actor at like the Origins Film Festival and things like that. So I got some decent accolades. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, at some point when doing these fun, creative things, you also need to you need to try and find a return on investment, because not only is it a time sink, if you want to produce something, anything, it takes money. Quality requires some form of investment, be it blood, sweat, and tears, and or monetary. Chances are probably both. So, like we said, that one went up on the Amazon Prime after its festival run. It's still available to people. Other ones were entered in festivals and were, kind of exercises for, kind of dealing with a very specific, use case we were trying to examine. Some films we did were very much about, hey, we've got this cool concept for lighting. Let's do a 5-minute horror short, that just, trying to understand how to do this thing.
Yeah.
Those were simply for little festival things here and there. But yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a project that has not officially launched, but it's called Shortheads, where we watch and kind of, I'll say, review shorts, because we are addicted to them. We love them. We go to festivals. We write these things about them, and I will be doing interviews. I just had somebody reach out, was like begging me for an interview, and I went, I think we're going to do something, but I don't know how it's going to live. So you will be back, Jeff. I just don't know where.
Love it.
But when you see something from Shortheads, you know what I'm talking about. And I will definitely watch Forgotten, because as soon as you said it, and I actually, is Mennonite of the Living Dead anywhere? Because that name is a mighty name.
Now, Mennonite of the Living Dead. Okay, that may be available, I believe, on Vimeo for rent. Amazon banned it.
Banned it. See, that's a badge of honor. Okay.
For absolutely no, it was absolutely infuriating, because everything is implied. There literally is nothing in it that, I mean, it is highly offensive, but in a satirical way, and nothing on screen. So the fact that they banned it with no appeal process was infuriating. That was a movie I acted in. It was an experiment that kids do not do this. We decided to make a feature film in 36 hours. We filmed straight through over a weekend and made a feature film on $0 just to see if we could do it. It wasn't worth the gray hairs, if you ask me. It was tiring, exhausting. But it's a funny, ridiculous B movie.
No, I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in. I think you got a rental out of me. Before we started, we were talking about how we both saw Cocaine Bear. That is hitting me square in the movie feels. I love movies that take you someplace new, movies that just do their thing. I love it. So when I'm reading through your list, I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing stuff that I would want to watch here. So I love it.
That makes me happy. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate things that know what they are and stick to it and are unapologetic for what they're trying to do.
Sure.
Very often, I think that, people, be it movie producers, writers, producers of TTRPGs, whatever, they try to appeal to the broadest audience possible. And while I get that, I think in some cases, some of the magic gets lost. Sometimes if you have an idea, just go ahead and focus on that idea. And as long as you're going to get your return on investment back from the people that will appreciate that one thing, that aspect that you're trying to celebrate in whatever you're writing or producing, I think sometimes you just got to go for that,
Yeah. Yeah. Wise words, man. I really appreciate you saying that. So you mentioned TTRPG, which is what this show is about. What's your history with that? Did you ever write anything? Were you just a player? And when did you start?
Oh God, this is where I feel old. I started playing TTRPGs in 1980. So I would have been probably 9 years old at the time. Some friends, going to the community pool every summer, you'd have the requisite Adult Swim, all the kids out of the pool. And, back then we didn't have iPads or phones or anything else. So either you brought a little book with you and you drew, or you played soccer in the back field, or some of the older kids were playing in the kind of the snack pavilion, this weird game with dice and paper and everything else. And I was, enraptured by what they were doing. And to their credit, they were older than me. They invited me over after a couple of days of seeing me sitting there watching, at a distance, all, interested like, and invited me over to play. And that was my introduction with the basic set of Dungeons and Dragons way back in the day, the red box set. And that's where I got my start. And I have been hooked ever since. And, there have been points in my life where haven't been able to play, everything else,
right.
late 20s, early 30s, focused on work and family and things like that, really not so much. So there are some gaps, but honestly, I've been playing mostly fantasy RPGs, but occasionally superhero stuff and horror stuff as well, my whole life.
Yeah, actually, God, we are the same person. 1980 was my year. I'm a little older than you, a little bit. I think I was 12 when I started. That would be like junior high age, right? Because I think it was that Thanksgiving of 7th grade that my cousins, they were going to play this game. I didn't know what it was. And they invited their friends over, and they were all older than me. So they were like, sneaking beers in their stuff and whatever. Sure. And I'm sitting there with, eyes like this. And I just fell in love with this game. I mean, I was like, what is this? And I remember going back home and telling my friends about it, like it was this magic thing. And they're like, let's play. So we drew some maps, and I just kind of made up a story, and we rolled dice,
sure.
And God knows what we were playing, but it caught us. I mean, it's magic. And as a storyteller, as a creator, it's like, it makes your brain explode.
Yeah.
And I did do superhero stuff in high school as well. It was amazing. Remember that Marvel game?
Such a great game from a game mechanic perspective. It was very ahead of its time.
Yes.
And an excellent RPG. Yeah, I do remember it fondly.
Yeah. So I was in a D&D club at school, and that was a game that they brought in the one day, and they're like, hey, do you guys want to play superheroes? And I was like, yeah, sure. Oh my God. I was like, can we just play this for the rest of my life? Because I was having so much fun with that. D&D, I kept having to be meat shield. Like I rolled meat shield. So I'm like, all right, well, this is fun, but I'm going to run in and get hacked up. I like story. I like to create stuff and solve stuff. So the superhero thing, I got to do that, which was incredible. So enough about me and my superhero love, and enough about you and your superhero love. So right. TTRPG, what you said, it was like fantasy mainly. Were you always a D&D person, or did you venture into Pathfinder, or was it other stuff?
I never ventured into Pathfinder. So my history with D&D is, the basic and expert stuff way back in the day. Then first edition through second edition, and I kind of tapered off at the very end of second edition. I dropped off D&D until fifth edition started up. So I missed the whole 3E, 4E stuff and all the spawns, the Pathfinder, that stuff that came out of 3E. So I kind of missed all of that. I've tried other systems. I'm a big fan of, when I want just ridiculousness, I'm a fan of Dungeon Crawl Classics. Nowadays, I think it's so
good.
It's the cocaine bear of RPGs. I absolutely love it.
You're making me want to play again tonight.
But again, it scratches a very specific itch. You have to be in the mood for it. I did like Fantasy Hero, which came out of, the Hero system. Back in the day, that was an interesting take on things. I love Shadow the Demon Lord. I think is an excellent system nowadays to play. But I've always run into the problem of, and I feel for independent TTRPG creators, because my first love was D&D, so that's where my nostalgia lies.
Right.
I find that that's the case for many people, and for many people, D&D is synonymous with TTRPGs. So when you find a group of people, it's very difficult to get them to try and invest in learning a new system, whatever that is, because as adults, it's hard. We only have so much time in the day. So what I want to do, if I have 4 hours, do I want to spend 2 of it learning a new system and then only playing for 2 hours? Do I want to play 4 hours of a game I already know? So I tend to lean towards D&D a lot. I find that conventions are a great place for me to go and play games that I never would be able to find groups for otherwise. So most of my time at conventions, where I'm going to gaming conventions, I'm focused on games other than D&D. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. When you go there, I mean, they're already ready for you. Whoever's running the game, it's like, Here, sit down. Here's a character. Boom. Let's play. And then they kind of explain as you go along. And that's where I've experienced most of my outside of D&D, or outside of, I have a friend that created a superhero game, ironically, that I played for about a year every week. And it was just amazing. But those are the two things that I usually have gravitated towards, unless I was at a con. So I guess we're doing an ad for the cons. Listen, folks, get out there to those cons, play some games. So
exactly.
So Jeff, what can you tell me about Black Ballad? You've done some writing on it. What can you tell me about this project? Because the people I've been having on, we keep talking about it, but they haven't really talked about the Black Ballad.
What? Oh, well, that's crazy talk. Let me throw it out there for you.
That's why I knew you were the one.
All right. Yes. Like Neo. Let me explain this. All right.
You are the one. Yes.
The Black Ballad is an epic. It's a high level epic adventure based on the music of the band Diamorti. It's about life, death, regret, and acceptance, all taking place in the land of the dead. We think it's the perfect adventure to run after your party has all died in some horrific dice rolling disaster. Or, of course, you can just fire it up from scratch to begin with. It's written to be done either way. But either way, we do promise to deliver on our premise that everything in this book is epic, metal, and meaningful. This is a heavy metal inspired rock opera based romp through the lands of the dead. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's a great description of it. Well done. And there is a backer kit that is going to launch on March 7th. So this will come out before that point. You can follow the link in the show notes to get on the email list. So you are ready when this thing launches. You'll get notified. So that will be in the show notes. And Jeff, your information will also be in the show notes, including your IMDb page, because I did look it up. So anyone that's listening, I know some of us are auditory learners and we're like, oh, what's that again? It makes it really easy. I put it in the show notes so you can find it whenever you want it. What do you have coming up outside of Black Ballad?
I don't have time for anything outside of Black Ballad right now.
Okay,
that is my main focus. We're pledging to our backers that we will deliver a high quality, top tier product. We're well ahead of schedule. We're 80,000 words into what should be about 175,000 word book. We've got our art orders going, so I'm managing a million different little things right now, along with the rest of the team. We're all running a million miles an hour because we don't want to fall into the trap that a lot of crowdfunding, projects do, where they languish,
right
after funding. We want to be ready to go. We want to deliver ahead of schedule, and we want to deliver a high quality product to our backers. So I'm not focused on anything until we get this out the door.
Yeah. And I recommend everybody, I know that we're kind of focusing on the Black Ballad, but I really, really want you to go look at the backer kit, look at what they're doing. I mean, as somebody who's seen images and stuff behind the scenes, and I know stuff is going to roll out that they're going to get to see that they haven't seen yet, it's incredible. Like, it's incredible. And if nothing else, watch that trailer. I was in 2 different gaming shops this week. I had an impromptu visit to Minneapolis, and I went into 2 gaming shops and I was talking to owners, and I was just like, oh, hey, here's the project. And I showed the trailer. Both of them went like jaw dropping and went, oh my God, this is so freaking awesome. I'm like, this is just the trailer. Wait till you play it. So
man, that makes me good. I wrote the script for the trailer. I'm glad it's resonating for people.
Oh, it's good script. Great. Nice job, because it really connected with. I showed it to two people. I mean, I showed it to other people, but two people in game stores that were like talking to me about, what is this? Is this something that we might want to carry in the store? And I was like, yeah, sure. Here, look at the trailer. And they were blown away.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, well done, Jeff. So where do you want to send people? What social media do you want to send them to?
If people want to find me specifically, you can find me at The Mighty Jerd on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or the Dice Camp instance of Mastodon. I'm active on all of those. And of course, follow Storyteller Forge. That's the more important thing. You can find ST Forge Studios on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or of course you can go to storytellersforge.com, and all the link trees and all the different projects that are going to be coming out are listed there. Yeah.
And once again, all that's going to go in the show notes. So, Jeff, thank you so much for being on. I'm definitely going to have you on at least one other show, and I definitely am going to want you back here. This show is in its infancy. We're still figuring it out. So as we get our legs under us, I'm going to want to have you back, because I know we got a lot more stories to go.
Love it. It was great talking to you. Thanks so much for your time, man.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you again, Jeff, for coming on and reminding me of Comics Corner, and for all the fun conversation. It was such a blast having you on. If you or anyone you know has a crowdfunding effort or has been involved in making a TTRPG, send them our way. We love to share cool TTRPG projects and to help people reach their goals. You can connect with me through the TTRPG Insider Facebook page or via email directly at rob@ttrpginsider.com. You can find a link to the backer kit for the Black Ballad and any other links we discussed in the show notes. TTRPG Insider is a production of Southgate Media Group, hosted, edited, and produced by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks so much for listening to the TTRPG Insider.